welcome to another episode of Messages from Beyond. I am Emanuelle, and this is my wonderful friend, Pam. Hi, Pam. Thank you for being here again and helping me. This is an exciting one because after about a whole year of practicing to trans-channel this source, this energy source, we finally come to this point where I will allow God to use my vessel, my body, to communicate to you. This is a little bit different than I'm normally used to. When I usually trans-channel a spirit, I can literally feel their etheric body kind of merge with mine. With God, I feel more like there is a hand being placed on the bottom of my back, and through that touch, it takes over. So I think that should God emerge itself fully with me, that massive amount of energy would not be beneficial for the health of my body. And so that's why it just taps in, and it does the same thing, same outcome. To me, it feels the same. It just feels like I am present, but I'm not fully aware of what is being spoken through me. But I know, I'm aware that I am in front of a camera speaking. I just don't know what exactly is coming through. And that's usually for me, the end of the session, I will go, Pam, how was the interview? And then she'll go, amazing, you should go check it out. And then I have to rewatch it myself to see what was being said. So I think Pam's very nervous, as am I. How you doing, honey? She can't say it. Don't ask.
I'm
very nervous. Video. You can tell because I'm constantly rubbing my hands. So I'm very nervous. I'm not so nervous about the channeling itself. I'm more nervous about how people will respond to God, because I've seen many channelings and everything is very much personified, or God is being expressed as a human, as an individual, as a person. That's not my experience of God. When I tapped into that source, it felt very different than a being. It's pure energy with consciousness. So I'm not sure what's going to come out. We received about 600 questions for God. So this is probably going to be just one of many videos, because I want to try and get to as many questions as I can about for God, and the variety of questions was massive. So we're just starting with this, and this will probably turn into a God series. And so in between the other chosen spirits that you guys have chosen on my Patreon account, which you can find with the link below, then we're going to every now and then pick some questions I've kept all your questions out of your list, and we'll just do one on occasion in between that and share that with you guys. So again, if you want to help Pam and I choose our next guest, if you want to send in your question for that guest, then you can go to patreon.com. It's kind of like /Emanuelle McIntosh, and then you can go and vote. The way it works is I don't force spirit to come and talk to me, so please don't send me any suggestions. I basically go into a meditative state. I send out the intention that whoever wants to have their voices heard, whoever has a message for humanity, whoever is willing to step forward and share their experiences, is allowed to step forward. And then the first 5 names, or sometimes I just get pictures of who they are. The first 5 entities who step forward, I write them down on a list. And then you guys can choose from those 5 who will be our next guest. So that's how it works. And I'm ready. Are you ready?
Thank you. Thank you for joining us today. So much love, so appreciated. All the viewers and I are so grateful for the opportunity of your presence and the opportunity to ask the questions we have here today. The first question is from Dana Vincent. It's two questions actually in one. What are you? And what is your essence made out of?
God was not born, nor will it ever die. It really is an eternal presence that is utterly empty, but absolutely full. It is a highly vibrational energy that is without center, without limitations. It is an energy of pure love, where there is nothing to be gained or lost. It is consciousness and unconsciousness, the everything and the nothingness, and the very source of creation itself. It is the light and the dark, the good and the bad, the all that is, and the empty space in between. It is the absolute, and at this time, it is still unfathomable and inscrutable to the human mind. It is not condemning nor superior, as most of your religious institutions claim to be. God consciousness came from nothing. The problem here is that humans link nothingness to the idea of non-existence. But the universal truth is that nothing is still something, and that something is energy. An energy source which continuously changes in frequency, which is what you call expansion. God is infinite, the energy source from which the consciousness of existence flows, strengthened and defined by the consciousness of that which does not exist. In essence, it is an eternal, genderless, formless, homogeneous, eternally changing energy source. In its essence, it does not contain the ability to judge, to hate or experience anger or sadness. It does not experience emotionality like humans do. But it is always in a state of love for all that is, and thus also all the consciousness that has evolved from its source. It has no ego, nor does it identify itself as a singular identity. I hope this answers your question.
Thank you. Philip Jones has two questions. Was there a Big Bang? And if so, what was it?
What you call the Big Bang was the moment God's energy source experienced an inner explosion and created relativity. God's source within itself has no awareness and no experience of itself, as all there is God's source. Although God does not reside in ego, It is still aware of its presence and its beingness, its consciousness. And yes, one can be fully present within the self without the ego. Now, how can God consciousness get to truly know and understand oneself if there is nothing else to compare oneself to? So it divided itself into enough God particles so that it could experience itself empirically. You see, there's only one way for God to experience itself as the creator of all that is, and that is through creation. For the sake of human understanding, I will express the following in the past tense. Let's just say a past tense story, although God resides in timeless reality. Okay, so far, God only had a conceptual understanding of who God was. But the only way to truly experience what it knew to be true about its presence and essence was to find a way to observe or experience itself through creations outside of itself and the creation of opposites. So in other words, the only way God could fully understand its own consciousness, its own qualities, and the magnitude of its own source was to create something outside of itself. The only way God could experience itself as love, and all which that frequency entails, was really to create what you have labeled as relativity, which means that the state of a being's existence depends upon or is determined in nature, value, or quality by its relation to something else. Hence, that energetic defragmentation and the creation of opposite frequencies is what you call the explosion or Big Bang. Does this answer your question?
So, thank you. Julian is asking, will the institution of religion ever end on earth? And if so, when?
The answer is yes. The age of religion within the human race will, from a human timeline perspective, end in the future. And a more unified global understanding of universal truth and spirituality will take its place. When that will happen depends on the souls inhabiting this earth, but it is inevitable. Understand that all spiritual and religious understandings share a single universal truth: the existence of an all-inclusive source, larger than anyone can possibly comprehend, a mystical or transcendent reality upon which all spiritual knowledge and doctrine has its foundation. For mankind, the end of all religions will come with the realization of God within the soul. To realize one true self is to realize one's divine nature. Every soul has the potential to manifest a new higher level of consciousness by awakening from its slumber and releasing its identification with physical form. All spiritual or religious teachings have aspects of that universal truth. However, when man holds on to dogma and restrictive binding rules within each religion, then they will be limited by the conditioned thoughts and sensations. And this will hinder their spiritual evolution and their reconnection with consciousness itself. So, to realize universal truth or reach a state of enlightenment within a physical experience means letting go of all attachments and all human religious concepts of what spirituality is. It can only be achieved by turning your conscious mind away from all externally known objects, all externally known thoughts, phenomena, and sensations. It's about completely letting go of the conceptual mind or total surrendering of the self-structure. The experience of enlightenment here on earth is, however, really rarely chosen by the soul. I am laughing because so many of you reject their choice. Understand that it is very rarely chosen by the soul to experience on earth the state of enlightenment, because the unpredictability, the adventure and excitement, the endless possibility of becoming a new creation of self, the essence of duality, emotionality, and physicality, the real experience of being human would get lost when we reach enlightenment in the physical form. And it is this free-willed self-creation and unknown adventure that appeals to so many souls who choose to be human over and over and over again. Being a human is about seeking and doing. And so you all knowingly choose incarnations where challenges and suffering are a part of that experience and are seen from your spiritual perspectives as opportunities of great expansion. That said, a soul's journey always spirals towards discovering and remembering its truest essence. So reintegrating with your natural love frequency always completes the cycle of physical incarnations. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Claire Tevlin also has 2 questions. What is the real meaning of life, and why do we choose to incarnate in physical form?
Incarnation is all about creation. You are not here to learn because you are an all-knowing source. But you are here to experience what you already know conceptually. Through the illusion of different levels of separation chosen by you for each and every incarnation, and the temporary memory loss that you yourself install when entering the physical vessel, you will go on an adventure to rediscover and remember who you really are in essence. You will do this through the creation of many different characters in many different lifetimes, and the consciousness or subconscious creations of challenges and hurdles, even pain and suffering, but also victories, accomplishments, self-empowerment, and loving experience will all add to that experience of expansion. Incarnation is all about the creation of experiences and practices from which a higher soul, which eternally resides in a higher vibrational love frequency, or what you call heaven, can fully experience the conceptual knowing or understanding of oneself. For example, your higher self knows that it is all loving. But how can it truly experience itself as all loving if it is only surrounded by love? How can one experience itself as love when love is all there is? For example, one can conceptually know all there is about being in love. One can have read every book about being in love, listened to every song, know every poem, and have observed other beings being in love. But one will never truly understand what being in love is all about in its totality from a conceptual perspective. Not until it has experienced itself. Not until it has experienced the opposite of love and the eternal variations and experiences that can come from that one frequency of being in love. Because everything that is seeds from love, including what humans consider to be bad and evil. Because what you all consider to be bad flows from a lack of that love. And as that lack of or nothingness is also God or all that is, and God is love, then that bad or evil is also love. And so through all of the individual creations, God fully experiences every aspect of its existence and essence as you are God and God is you. And this way eternally expands not in mass, but through being in a constant state of alternating frequencies and all individually created consciousness. Life is about this continuous change of frequency, continuous coming and going of energy, a continuous expanding and extracting, expansion and contraction. It flows like a universal heart that eternally expands and contracts in order to feed and maintain the existence of a consciousness. I hope this answers your question.
Lauren say, why do black holes exist in space? What are they? What is their purpose?
Black holes are energetic wombs from which galaxies are born. They are the energetic origin points from where galaxies emerge. The center of a black hole is a gateless gate, a portal to a one-dimensional singularity beyond time and space, beyond physicality, that contains the infinite mass of millions of star systems. In a way, you could say a center that joins many worlds. That said, when it is requested and thus manifested by a collective of creators, just like yourselves, to end certain creations, and bear in mind that there are an infinite of universes and creative souls, each creating their own realities, then a black hole can also defragmentize the same star system that it gave birth to. So they are energetic vortexes from which galaxies are born and die. Understand that the passage through a black hole does not come without challenges, as it separates the self from the non-self. It defragmentizes what enters and returns it back to its natural state of beingness. So what you consider to be solidity cannot exist within a black hole. Now, as a consciousness, as a free-willed soul able to manipulate its reality, you have the ability to manipulate the energies within a black hole. But understand that should you enter a black hole, you will find yourself everywhere and nowhere. You will experience form and formlessness, time and timelessness, and you are at great risk of losing all sense of self and become part of all that is. At this moment in your timeline, mankind is far from ready to fathom this kind of energy source or utilize it safely. And only a rare amount of physical beings have managed to use these gates. But as your future is never set, one day this might be a gateway to everywhere and nowhere. So never lose hope and continue your expansion and transition.
Massey. Why did you set it up to where all creatures of the physical world have to age and die instead of simply continuing their life after birth? Why do we have to suffer on Earth?
First of all, understand that life does not start with birth, nor does it end with death. What you see as life, this earthly experience of existence that seems to be characterized by the extreme focus by humans on the idea of success and reinforced by a great fear for demise or death, is only a temporary chosen dream state in order for your soul to experience itself in ways that is otherwise impossible to experience from its highly heavenly vibrational state of existence. In other words, it is hard to experience yourself when there is a lack of that of which you are not. That said, all frequencies created during these dream states do still influence all that is on an energetic level to some degree, because it influences the frequencies of the higher selves who always remain in the higher vibrational realms, despite their consciousness experiencing multiple incarnations simultaneously. So, this world of relativity that you experience daily is not reality. It is a virtual reality designed and manifested by all of you. You, who are God particles who develop their own consciousness and were all given the same creation powers as God, with the sole purpose for all God particles and God itself to know oneself empirically. You all intended for this creation to seem very real, so that during your experience of this self-designed virtual reality, you would allow yourself the opportunity to achieve the vibrational expansion you intended to have. The idea of birth and death was created by all of you in order to install the illusion of time and space, a sense of physical evolution and decline, something that is not possible to experience in the heavenly realms, but also to install a reintegration point, an exit point, as you would call it, for you to go back to your true reality, to reintegrate into your higher vibrational plane of existence, and receive an overview of your gained expansion and experiences as your life reviews are equally valuable and expansive as the life experience itself. The suffering and pain that you all speak of, the cruelty, injustice, and violence that humanity experiences daily, are creations and manifestations from the collective human souls and higher selves, either pre-designed before birth to install certain experiences and conditions that will help reach the intended desired experiences for that lifetime to be accomplished, or they are unknowing and unwanted manifestations through unconscious and undesired thinking, or undesired emotional or behavior patterns from the higher self. And so these discomforts can then lead you or guide you in some way or form back into the direction of your chosen path. It can guide you back to the original intention your higher self had for this incarnation. So many have cried out to God and asked, why has God forsaken them? So many have blamed God for these events or cursed God for not correcting the problems. And yes, God hears your cries and prayers. And through Emanuelle today, and so many others each day, God can tell you that it has never forsaken you, nor has it ever stopped loving you. It is not God's will or wish for these challenges to take place. God does not create this suffering. God only observes your collective and individual creations and does not intervene, as that would mean stripping my children from their free will and their divine right to create according to their spiritual intentions and needs for expansion. Something all of us, including God, has chosen to experience. It would be like watching your child create a beautiful drawing of what it wants to experience in life, and then the parents coming in completely altering the drawing of that child. That would not benefit the child, nor would it benefit the parents. But that doesn't mean God has forsaken you. God never stopped loving you, nor did it ever stop guiding you. Millions and millions of light beings are guiding you from beyond the veil. So many light workers are passing on to you all the wisdom and guidance that you need to give you the strength, the knowledge, and the abilities to transform and guide your current reality. It is important to learn to listen, because that seems to be the biggest problem. Light workers are constantly moving you and loving you into a peaceful direction. The problem is not the lack of support. The problem is not the lack of love or guidance given. The biggest problem for humanity is the lack of faith within every individual's unlimited power and the inability to look beyond your own limited peripherals. The lack of love that you feel within and the inability to even believe for just a little bit that you are loved every day, even if that doesn't reflect within your current physical reality, creates a big problem. It is the mere belief in the illusion of lack that disconnects all of you from your own source and from the love inside of you. So I hope this answers your question.
Yes. Thank you. From Susan Gara. Is it true that although there may be no good or evil, no right or wrong, that your intention for us is to be good?
Good or evil is a subjective judgment seeding from an individual or personal value system. You create your own human self, your own human character, through your own subjective judgment, through your own personal values that you determine, and shows who you are. The world is created by the collective in such a way so that every single one of you can choose your judgment or lack thereof if all physical realities would exist in a perfect state of love, bliss, and residing in the natural state of self, then all incarnations would become obsolete and expansion would come to a hold. Now understand that what I am trying to explain to you is far more complex than what I am saying now. But it is, let's just say that the human mind is not yet ready to comprehend that complexity. Energies need to flow, as that is what is called life or existence. I was talking about the universal heart before. Well, when that heart stops expanding and contracting, when that energy flow stops moving, life or consciousness ceases to exist. That said, what I will share next is still very hard for a human mind to fully comprehend. And again, due to the complexity, very hard to express with a very limited vocabulary through which humans communicate. So the complexity of what I will express cannot be fully fathomed by the human mind, but I will try. Understand this. It is every soul's desire to explore all aspects of the self in the infinite realities and different dimensional and vibrational frequencies through the creation of millions and millions of unique individual characters and incarnations. It is its desire to eventually rise its vibration to a level of God frequency, in a way to come back full circle and reintegrate with God's source, which is a natural thing to do for every soul, because at that level of vibration, there will be only a complete identification of God. So let me try and put that simpler. Every incarnation leads to an expansion of your higher self's soul vibration, which means with everything you learn and rediscover about yourself, it's more a remembrance of who you are, but in practicality, then the vibrational frequency of your soul expands and rises. And it's its ultimate goal to rise at such a level that it becomes part of God again, that it reintegrates with that source. And that is not going to be a sacrifice or a sad event. It is the evolution of the understanding and the total integration that I am God and you are God and everyone around you is God. So every soul has the desire to eventually rise its vibration to that level of God frequency, and in this way come back full circle and reintegrate with God. So yes, it is yours and God's intention to complete this circle of self-validation and return to love. But understand that from that love, new consciousness are born from that expanded God source. And the adventure continues, but founded from a newly gained God frequency. Because as you grow, God grows, and so the continuous flow and change of energy continues and grows as well. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Might have to listen to that a few times, but yes.
It's
a
basically
lot to take in.
It is basically taking God grows through your experiences. You are God, and I am you. If you want to humanize it, let me try and humanize it. I am you, and you are me. Therefore, it is the ultimate evolutionary cycle to re-identify and reintegrate with oneself. So as you, as individual parts of me, expand and remember through physical experiences who you are, it is the natural result that eventually that awareness of who you are will be reached, and therefore the separation between you and I can no longer exist.
Yes. Thank you.
I hope that helps.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Shay McKeon, do you like the name God? If you could choose a name, what would you choose?
You can call that which is beyond the limited egoic mind whatever resonates with you. But just to amuse you and please your human ego, the all, or the infinite, the transcendent, the creator, the eternal, are more all-inclusive labels and resonate better with the frequency of God. Does that answer please you?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, that's helpful. Adelaide Laguerre, do you take offense when someone says, God damn it, or curses you in anger? Or do you know they don't really mean it, it's just a human thing?
A very common question, and many apologies usually follow after the God damn it.
Sorry.
Do not feel sorry, sweet Pam. No is the answer. Because all are God's children and all are God. Taking offense to the creation of my children would mean taking offense to my own creation and my creation of free will. Also, in order to experience any feelings of being offended, God would need an ego, a sense of self, which it is not, as it is all that is and all that is not. God's love is unconditionally, so no matter what they choose to experience in this physical incarnation, or how they choose to express themselves and the energies they feel inside, all are embraced by the loving arms of God, because all are love.
Love it. Thank you. I'm feeling a sense of humor here.
Don't you think God can have a sense of humor?
I know God has a sense of humor, and I'm so pleased to see it here today. Thank you.
God created humor.
Thank you for that. Oh, thank you. The best thing. One final question for this session is from Alice, and she would like to know, how can we reach peace and lasting happiness on earth?
Again, a difficult question to comprehend from a human mind. When you start to embrace the balance that has always resided within each and every one of you, but has been overshadowed by human conditioning, human limiting thoughts and beliefs, by becoming what you call yin and yang, uniting all aspects of the self by creating a balanced understanding and experiencing of the absolute and the relative. The absolute being the understanding that you are nothing and everything, that you are not the character that you choose to play upon this earth, but that you are far greater than the human mind can currently comprehend. The relative being the earthly manifestations that you choose to attract and create, which, from your spiritual self's perspective, is always based and founded within a source of love for oneself and all others, even if from the human perspective, that is almost impossible to accept or comprehend. It is very hard for humans to accept that they have chosen suffering, that they have chosen challenges. However, the higher self chose this with full love for oneself's expansion, but also to be of service to other people's expansion. What seeds out of the union of these two polarities, the absolute and the relative, is man stepping away from the dualistic identification, and a new divine consciousness starts to grow within the physical experience. But understand this: inner happiness and peace cannot be experienced from solely an intellectual understanding. This universal truth and becoming can only be experienced when the balancing of all levels of self are experienced fully. So when in physical reality, you find and experience balance between the absolute and the relative within your entire beingness, you will approach the experience of the great reality, and your life will start to revolve around the transcendent reality. This way, the unhealthy and distorted ego will start to dissolve, and a healthy ego or true knowing of the self emerges. This will come with a massive amount of challenges, as one will have to be willing to simultaneously face one's greatest fears and acknowledge and practice one's inherent powers. So it's about being able to do both. In doing so, your subconscious fears, your sorrows, and your untruths will emerge to the surface, which can be painful, but they have to emerge so they can be processed and be embraced with love energy. And your divine essence and beauty will rise in the light and come into your conscious awareness. So understand that this would happen simultaneously. So you can understand that this is a difficult process for humans to go through and create much confusion within themselves and within their minds. So over time, as humans say, all fear, how would I explain this? Over time, all fear-infused phenomena produced by the fearful or unconscious mind will become apparent and fade away in the light frequency that you will now reside in. Are you understanding what I am saying? It is creating balance between the darkness and the light. And through allowing the dark to emerge and the light and embracing the light that has always been inside of you, you find that balance and the dark fades away in the light. So the key to succeeding, and keep in mind this is a practice, this from your human timeline will take patience, it will take practice, it will take self-discipline. But the key to succeeding is having faith. Unfortunately, many of you are confused about what faith really is. To have faith is the opposite of to believe. Belief is intellectual. It is accepting something on the level of mind to create a sense of safety and comfort. It is the mind's way of trying to control or label experience, which only leaves you to reside in a state of constant resistance of the unwanted or undesired. Faith, on the other hand, is the exact opposite. Faith is a total surrendering to what is, was, and will be. Faith is a reflection of the state of the absolute. It is staying in a place of not knowing and accepting whatever arises. Faith is surrendering to the pull of all that is, and in doing so, dismantling or dissolving this frequency of resistance, and instead embracing a frequency of pure peace and bliss. Once we are in that vibration of spiritual acceptance, you will then have a more inner guided, intuitive, and more correct module to rely on to respond accordingly to whatever arises. You see, spiritual acceptance does not mean being indifferent or being tolerant. It just allows you to not act or respond to challenges or opportunities from a source of fear, but instead it enhances your inner communication and higher dimensional guidance that will lead to taking action or reacting from a source of love. To end this session, let me all reveal this to you. This process is already happening now in your current timeline. This is what you call ascension. Ascension does not take you into a new world or changes your identity, but it alters how you perceive yourself from within. And in doing so, this inner transcendence mirrors itself outside of you. In other words, inner change and identification with the true self alters the world outside of yourself, because no matter what you believe, all of you are responsible for the physical world that surrounds you through the creative powers that you all possess. So have faith, love, and know that you are loved unconditionally. Moving into a more enlightened state of being does not mean giving up who you are, but adds more knowing to who you thought you were. Life as you design it is for yourself. Life is not meant to just happen or to let happen. You have to participate. You have to create. So become the creator that you intended to be. Take responsibility and always act from a source of love. Because what you do for yourself, you do for others, and vice versa. Because you are them and they are you. So choose love above else and continue the road to ascension. That should be your main focus today. Thank you for listening.
Thank Thank you for coming through. Thank you for allowing us to connect by way of Emma, and that Emma is our conduit to you, that she is a gift that can translate those messages that you have for us. So much gratitude, so much love for Emma and our experience and your messages that you've given us today. Thank you so much.
Best wishes to all, and know that I love you.
We love you. Thank you.
All right, guys, that was it for today. I am sore and aching all over the place. I feel like my body has just ran a marathon and every muscle is tight and tense. A little bit of a headache right now. I'm very tired. Whew. It was a challenge to channel such a high vibrational energy into my lower vibrational body, but we managed to do it. And I want to thank Pam for having the courage to do this with me and ask all the questions. I don't know what was all said, so I'm going to have to rewatch it myself. Pam is a little bit blown away. It's like, I'm going to have to re-listen. Hopefully this its message resonates with you, you know, I don't know how it addressed Pam, because I usually don't see myself what comes out, but to me, when it addresses me or it communicates with me, it never really feels like a person. It feels more like a neutral energy source that contains all emotionality without identifying itself with that emotionality. It is present, humor, laughter, joy, sadness, but it doesn't identify itself with all of those like humans do. It doesn't claim it as its own. It is just present in its being. So thank you guys. Thank you for being here again. And if you guys like this video, don't forget to push the like and subscribe. Share. Sharing is caring. This is what Lisa and Pam always say. Sharing is caring. If you like this video, let us know. If you want to see more God interviews, let us know. And we will see what we can do. Bye, guys.